Hi there, it's Nicole, and today I have a new Mama Elephant Designer Series project to share featuring 3 cards created with the Origami Creative Cuts dies that coordinate with the Origami stamp set. And these 3 cards were all created using dies from Mama Elephant as well as the origami stamps. And then I used these clear cards from Hero Arts to make kind of a peekaboo type card where you can see part of the inside of the card as well as the outside. So I'm going to show you how I created these. The first thing I did was stamp some of the images that I was going to use. For my example today, I'm going to be sharing how I created the cat card. The bear and the other animal were created exactly the same way, but I'm not going to share all of the steps for those simply to save a little bit of time. I'm stamping the images on some Tim Holtz watercolor paper using Versamark ink, and then I'm sprinkling on some white embossing powder. This is the Hero Arts white embossing powder, and heat setting it. Now originally I had stamped and colored in the cat, you can see there to the right, and I didn't like it. It was supposed to be gray and it ended up being kind of purpley in color, and it had some specks of other colors in it. I'm not sure how that happened. So I stamped another one, and I am using some paintbrushes, a fine tip paintbrush, and then the Peerless watercolor papers. And what I like to do for this, the embossed areas are kind of helping contain the watercolors so that they don't spread out across the entire page. And I like to wet the paper first, and then I go in and wet my color and dab the color in. I'm using a couple of different shades here, one in kind of a yellow and then one in a brown, to give my cat kind of that calico type appearance. And I'm letting the water naturally blend the colors. I find as the watercolors are wet, they don't look near as nice as they do once they're dry. So I let it sit and dry while I went and did something else. And because I wasn't sure if I was going to even like this one, I thought I might have to do a third one. But when I came back and saw that how it had dried, I just absolutely adored it. So it is one of those things where you kind of have to have a little bit of patience and wait and see what it looks like. So I like to not wet too many areas that are right next to each other at the same time, as in case any of those colors will kind of bleed over the line at all. However, I did do the nose and a little bit of red there. It bled a tiny bit, but I just kind of dabbed it out real fast before it dried. Now I've done the hearts below, both the origami kind of medium and small heart, and then the larger heart is actually inside an origami thought bubble or speech bubble. So I have watercolored all of the hearts with red, and I'm using this really pretty aqua-ish blue for the rest of that. Again, you can see it's really splotchy, but as it starts to dry, it looks really pretty. And I let all of mine air dry naturally while I worked on other things, and they did dry pretty quickly, really. I'm going to go ahead and die cut all of the elements for my card. I'm using cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. The blue cardstock I'm using here is the Surf Blue. I'm also going to be using the Smoke Gray cardstock, the Fog cardstock. The white cardstock is Nina Solar White. Here's some of the Fog, which is a lighter gray. I'm using the Fem Frames die. I'm going to need quite a few shapes using this stitched rectangle from the Fem Frames die. And I will show you each step where I'm using that on the inside of my card. I'm also going to need a vellum stitched frame, and I'll show you what that's for in a little bit. Going to go ahead, I need want to make sure that will fit, and it wouldn't, so I went ahead and grabbed a bigger sheet of this fog cardstock. Now I have 2 pieces of the surf blue, and I'm going to place them back to back and use one of the Speech Trio Mama Elephant dies. This is the one with the curved edge. I'm taping these together with some Post-it tape so they don't shift, and then taping my die in place and running them through at the same time. I place them back to back because one will be on the front of the clear card and one is going to be on the inside of the clear card, covering up any of that adhesive that I use to attach the front piece. Now my shapes have dried that I added watercolor to from the Origami stamp set, and I'm going to take the coordinating Origami die, Creative Cuts dies, and cut out all of these other shapes. I hadn't broke apart all of my dies yet, so I had to cut a couple of them apart. Make sure I get those lined up and run those through my machine. Now pop all of these out so I have them ready to go. My kind of medium-sized heart there did shift when it ran through, so I did go ahead and create another one. I was a little bit annoyed with that. Now I like to start on the inside where you would write your greeting, and I'm placing that piece of cardstock on the inside of my card. Then it gives me a good base for lining up the rest of the design, especially because all of the shapes that I'm using were cut originally with that Fem Frames stitched rectangle. They're all going to line up exactly. I love that. So I'm placing my thought bubble that goes on the front of the card. I'm lining it up. I'm going to line up the Mama Elephant script hello. And I'm going to cut that out to do an inlay design for this large hello. And I want to be careful and keep all of this inside pieces, or keep that hello. I need the inside pieces for the letters to fill them back in once I've adhered the gray hello that I've just die cut there that will be the inlay. So there's what that's going to look like. And I can pop my little cat there. Just lay out my elements and make sure I like how everything looks. I'm also going to be using one of the greetings from Origami on the inside portion of the card. So even though the front of the card will have will show all of the design, when you open up the card it will still have that nice greeting on the inside, and you can, hand write a sentiment above, maybe where you won't be able to see when the card is shut. So it's just a really fun way to create a card, I think. So since I have the hello die cut from my little Fem Frames and Speech Trio, I'm simply going to adhere that now to the front of my clear card. And I need to pop out all of the pieces for the inside of hello from the smoke die cut word, or fog. I think this might be the fog. And then I'm going to add a little liquid adhesive, just add some little dots of it to the die cut word, and then I can insert that into where I have die cut it from this piece on the front of my card. So just carefully lining that up, get it exactly where it needs to go, and it'll be nice and flat. So I'm just going to put an acrylic block or two there for a minute to hold that adhesive in place while it dries. And then I'm going to use the quick stick tool to adhere all of these inside pieces from the original die cut to complete the inlay. So these are pretty teeny tiny pieces. I like the quick stick tool because it makes it so that I don't have to try to pick them up with my fingers, which is very hard to do, and you can kind of press them in place and position them. Just makes it much, much easier to hold on to. I also like to place my adhesive on the project as opposed to those teeny tiny pieces. It makes it much easier to control the glue. Now you could save that hello for another project or toss it, whichever you want to do. It would be great on another card. You could make a very simple little card with hello and maybe a little stamped greeting or something. So see, it's nice and flat. I love that about the inlay design. I'm just going to take my scissors and trim off that excess there from the left side where the script word overhangs so that it's completely inlaid. Now once I have that inlay all done, and I had a little adhesive stick there, I just took an eraser to erase that up, I can go ahead and adhere my origami stamped and die cut shapes. So I'm going to place my little animal right there at the end of the word hello, and then I will glue on the cute little heart thought bubble and the other hearts. Now I did put this heart on here and I forgot that I die cut that piece of vellum earlier, and I decided I wanted to go ahead and use that. So I did kind of have to pop up the thought bubble there, but all I did was take the vellum Fem Frames die cut, and I took the Landscape Trio die that has the cloud border, and I die cut both a cloud border from the vellum and also a piece of white cardstock to layer at the top of my card. Now here's where that piece that I die cut at the same time as the front comes into play. It covers up any of that adhesive on the inside of the card, so you won't see any of that glue or anything messy. Now the same goes for the inside piece. Even though I have glued this inside piece to my card, if you flip it over to the back, it's going to show that glue and adhesive, and I will show you what I did about that here in a second. I am taking a greeting from Origami, and I'm going to ink up each of the words individually. I'm inking up your with the Smoke Simon Says stamp ink, and then Perfect with the Hero Arts Pale Tomato ink, and stamping that on the inside of my card. Didn't quite get it all. I had to stamp it one more time. And I love that now you can see when it's open, you can see the greeting, and then when it's closed, you can see the greeting. It just is a really fun way to make or to use these clear cards. So there's the back where you can see that it clearly has all that adhesive showing. So I'm going to stamp my little Made by Nicole stamp on my white die cut piece for the back, and then I will cover that up, and all of my adhesive is hidden this way. Very, very easy. So there are those clouds that I was talking about. I die cut from both the vellum and some white and layered at the top, and I think they just really finish off the top of the card. And then I replace the origami heart thought bubble. And to finish it off, I'm using the Wink of Stella clear glitter pen over the die cut word hello and also all of the hearts. And then I did think that I needed a couple of additional hearts on the inside of my card, so I glued those to the inside piece, and they're still visible when the card is closed like it is now. So just a fun way to create cards using these clear cards and the Origami Creative Cuts, as well as lots of other Mama Elephant Creative Cuts dies. I love seeing how I can combine all of these dies together for very fun cards. And then here's a look at all three of the cards I created. They're all the same design, just using different animals. A couple of them both have the hearts, and then I used the stars on the last one with the bear here. I thought that was kind of fun. The products I've used are all linked below the video on YouTube, as well as additional details can be found on my blog. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.